Hi fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. So in this video I'm going to go through my Game Week 15 watch list. We have a very short turnaround before the Game Week 15 deadline, which is on Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to take a look at some of the players that I'm interested in bringing in for Game Week 15. So if you enjoy this sort of content, please give it a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And in the meantime, let's take a look. Before we get into some of the players that I want to look at for my watch list, and I have to say it was very hard. Maybe it was with a short period of time to turn these videos around and not much time to think about it, but I did find it hard to narrow down the players that I wanted to have a look at. But it is very much my watch list dependent on my team, and I think it's worth noting that in this week coming up, we've got 3 game weeks, very short space of time in between them. We've got 13, 14 and 15, so I know 14, 15 and 16 close together, so inevitably there's just going to be some rotation. So I kind of wanted to show you my team and some of the issues that I feel that I might have and how I'm going to balance that up. I've got rotation risk in the case of Darwin, who didn't have the greatest game at the weekend. It's got to be said, he didn't come away with any returns. So moving from Watkins, who was a doubt and 2 tough fixtures coming up, to Darwin didn't do me any favours. But over the longer term, maybe we'll have to wait and see if that does come through. Tsimikas could easily miss a game. I mean, Gabriel has missed games in the future, and if he's going to miss a game, I do think the likes of Luton will be where he will be sort of rested, and QEO will be brought in. Dinger's played every minute so far, so he's a little bit of a concern, although I don't think they have many other options. But having said that, I don't really want to take Tsimikas out. I don't want to lose Darwin because I've just brought him in. And Gabriel's a good longer term option as well, so I am worried about who's going to play and what minutes they're going to get. All likely, if you tune in for the team selection, I'm probably still going to stick with Tsimikas and Darwin and Adringa and Gabriel. I'm going to hope that Gabriel will just not get minutes if he starts on the bench, but I do suspect if Tsimikas, Adringa and Darwin will bench, they will come on and get minutes. But my bench isn't looking great. So Taylor away at Wolves, I'm not expecting much after his heroics at the weekend. And then Matty Cash, who was a great option a few weeks ago, is now a little bit of a headache. When he plays, he's got 2 difficult fixtures with Man City and Arsenal coming up. Great fixture in game week 18, which is a blank, obviously. But he's not. His minutes are just not guaranteed at all. Where he was rested, dropped, I'm not really sure. I can only assume it is a drop at the weekend. And Bailey was playing in more or less on that right-hand side instead. So I don't have much on the bench. So it is. I have some worries there. So even with the likes of Bowen, who I feel like I've missed a good fixture with, didn't do anything against Palace. His fixtures against Tottenham isn't great, but I do know he's going to get 90 minutes. So even though I'm not massively keen on keeping him, if I'm honest, I do think there's no point taking a player out like him in order to get someone else when I've got other fires to put out. So my whole watch list here is kind of dependent on these issues. But I think the longer term view is, a lot of this stuff is going to be out of my hands. I'm going to have the same questions. I still think whoever starts as to who starts in game week 16. If Tsimikas and Darwin start against Sheffield United, will they start at the weekend in their next fixture? I just don't know. If they both dropped, I would hope they'll play the next one, but there's just no guarantees. So off the back of that and all the issues I have, let's take a look at some of the players that are on my watch list. Sometimes it feels as if FPL presents you with players that you just cannot turn down. We've seen that recently with Tsimikas and Robertson being injured. He is just a very cheap way into the Liverpool defence, which is just almost too good to be true. More so, I think, could be said of Martin Dubravka, with Pope possibly, and we'll need to wait for more news of it, dislocating his shoulder. If it was a very similar injury to which he had previously and he was out for 3 months, Dubravka looks like a fantastic option. That Newcastle defence looks really good. They are the 3rd best in the league behind the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City. He's only 3.9. I don't think he's perhaps as good as Pope, but I certainly don't think he's going to weaken that Newcastle defence. And even at Botman, they still look a really good side. The fixtures with Everton, Tottenham will be difficult. And even Everton's numbers they're putting up would be a difficult game to keep a clean sheet in. But Newcastle, 3rd best, they just look so good. Fulham at home, Luton away, even better. Now, if you're like me and you own Areola and Turner, he just looks like a really good option. 14 games Newcastle have played. Obviously, Dubravka's only played something like 2 or 3 minutes. 14 goals they conceded, and their expected goals conceded 14.5. So they're pretty much where they should be, which is a goal a game. but they just look really good. If you already have, let's say, a Lascelles, who I am considering as well, or a Trippier, I don't think at 3.9 it would worry me doubling up on that Newcastle defence. It's just too much of a gift at that price to start to let it go. The only thing that puts me off a little bit is I would want to know how long Pope's going to be out for, and Eddie Howe's never very sort of forthcoming with information like that, so I'm not expecting him to tell us. If he needs surgery and you get a diagnosis, maybe we can get some idea that he's going to be out for months. If it's weeks, I don't think I'll be interested in this. Months, yeah, I think it's definitely an option. But if you've got Tsimikas, like I have, you've maybe got Dubravka, Lascelles, I've got a feeling that, the likes of Botman, Robertson, Dubravka, and Pope rather, would all come back, and it's just causing me a bit of an issue down the line. Now, you might feel that you'll have transfers to deal with that later on, that's fine, but it feels like I'm booking transfers in. However, if I move from Dubravka, get rid of Turner for the same price, possibly a profit depending when you bought Turner for and how much you're selling for, then I think you've still got Areola. But the question is, would I be playing Areola? Anyway, I think his fixtures look so good, Dubravka, over the next few game weeks, that I don't think I'd need Turner. But then at some point, Pope will get his place back. If it's 3 months, then we're looking at maybe game week 27. And by that time, the whole FPL landscape could have changed. Pope may not come straight back in the side. Dubravka may keep his place. It may be that you're looking to wild card at that point anyway. All sorts of things could have happened. Turner might have got his place back. Who knows? So it's possible that you can move Dubravka to Turner to keep the extra, to just keep two playing goalkeepers, or you could move Areola out and bring Dubravka in to get some more funds to move elsewhere in your squad. So I'm not quite sure where I am with this. I do feel like he is too good to miss, and I haven't got a Newcastle player in my squad, and I do think that defence is really good. So I am very tempted to go. It does, in terms of fixtures and the way they fall, if you have Areola, Dubravka has two difficult games in 21 and 22, I would say, with Liverpool and Arsenal. Areola has Brighton and Sheffield United, so that would rotate quite nicely. Would I be 100% against playing Dubravka against Liverpool and Arsenal? I don't think it's ideal, but no, the Newcastle defence is good enough to keep clean sheets against anyone. So he is someone that I am seriously considering. I wouldn't, if it was no other keeper, I would still keep Areola, I think, unless this had happened and we get confirmation, as it sounds, that Pope's going to be out for a while. 3.9 just looks like a really good way in to that Newcastle defence. And if, like me, you're a frustrated Areola sort of owner, I can't see where the next clean sheet's coming from for Areola. The defence has just looked really poor all season. Statistically, they're one of the worst. So even though as a goalkeeper they don't have much of a ceiling, Dubravka, if he's going to keep 2 or 3 clean sheets in every 6 or 7 games, that's still only 15, 16 points. And I don't think I can turn that down when the price is the same. Or, in Areola's case, I'm saving money. The only thing is, I suppose, is do you mind using a transfer to bring him in, or have you got other fires to put out? But Dubravka, he looks a serious contender for me, and I'm really interested in bringing him in this week as my move. The other Newcastle player that I can't ignore any longer, really, and his form has just been brilliant. We've looked at him, and I've seen other content providers give sort of comparisons between the likes of him and Palmer, but he seems to have jumped up the pecking order quite clearly. Helps he scored the winner on Saturday against Manchester United. Palmer didn't play, excuse me. So I think he is clearly the one to go around that price point. He is slightly more expensive, but again, the fixtures look good, and Newcastle just looks so good as well. It doesn't even worry me, I think, that Barnes would come back in the side, will be fit in the new year, because I just think Gordon's just playing so well that he will just keep his place in the side. Stats look good. He passes the eye test. 6 million. He's gone up in price, but he still looks brilliant. So he's another one that I am considering. Who do you bring out in that midfield? That's the next question. For me, maybe I'd upgrade from a Dingra, but he's got a decent fixture. I could consider bringing Bowen down, but then Bowen's one of those players that's going to get 90 minutes anyway, even though you'd say the fixture is tougher away at Tottenham this week. But he is one that, bit of a thorn in my side, and he is affecting my rank, no question. But 6 million, he just looks brilliant. He's been talked to death. It's the first time I've really really put him on my watch list. But I don't think I can afford to sort of overlook him anymore. He's got to be a consideration for my side. One of the main concerns in my team as well, and I've been pretty self-indulgent in this video, which isn't always the case, is that I've looked at Matty Cash as an issue. Reece James is a player that I would just love to bring in. He was suspended this week. He's got Manchester United away, so I don't feel like there's an absolute emergency to bring him in, but I also just don't want Cash sat there on the bench, especially when I've got so many doubts in my team with rotation that he would come in, and I don't even know if he's going to end up playing a sizable portion of that game in any case against Manchester City. So Reece James would be an improvement. He would be a little bit more expensive, but if you've got the money, I think he's worth it. He's a nice, that's a fantastic, dealing mainly in assists, but you would expect that from a fullback. And his fixtures after the Man U game, I'm not sure that I'd be that scared about Chelsea going there and keeping a clean sheet against Man U. I don't think that's out of the question, but the games after that, Sheffield United, Wolves, Palace, they look fantastic. Again, as always, there's a few things that you have to take into consideration. His injury record, you cannot ignore that. The fact he's had the suspension, maybe that's a good thing because he gets his rest, so maybe he gets Man U in midweek and then Sheffield United at the weekend, and then he perhaps misses a Wolves game before coming back for Palace, don't know. But the fact also that Pochettino did mention the fact that he got that yellow card, second yellow against Newcastle for hauling Trippier because he was just tired. So does it mean he's going to perhaps manage him a little bit more carefully as he comes back and his minutes are going to be affected? All these things are going to be considered. So what I do like about James is just the upside and the ceiling. If you've ever had him before, is ginormous. He can easily score you a goal, get an assist and a clean sheet, and he's great for bonus points. So at this moment in time, what a differential he is as well. But he does come with a sort of health warning, as we all know. We've all been burnt with Reece James in the past. And without that many doubts on my side, I just don't know whether I can really put myself in a position where I'm just giving myself another potential headache. But Reece James, definitely a consideration. And I like the fact he's had a little bit of a rest. Not mad keen on the fixture this week, so I could possibly just delay it until the weekend. One player that I do like as well, he picked up a yellow card at the weekend, was Pedro Porro. Again, not the cheapest, same price as Reece James, but one thing I know I'm getting with Pedro Porro's guaranteed minutes. He's going to play every single game. His underlying stats are not as good, but he has had a larger sample size than Reece James. And we know that Romero will be back, and their fixtures look a little bit more friendlier over the next few weeks. West Ham at home looks like a decent fixture. Newcastle at the weekend, that will be tricky. But then Forest, not easy one, and Everton, they're not games that you would be afraid to play Porro in. He looks really attacking, 4 assists already, gets forward on set pieces. There's a lot to like about him, and he will just play 90 minutes every game. Only thing that worries me is I just don't know how many clean sheets that Tottenham are going to be producing. That's my biggest worry, I suppose. But there's not many other options when I'm looking at going from a Matty Cash. Pedro Porro looks again like he's got a big ceiling, and you've just got to love the way that Tottenham are playing at the moment. So attacking. He looks like there's just points for him to have there sooner rather than later. So I do like him as an option just because he's so attacking, but I'm not sure whether I like the Tottenham defence that much. And the last one, he has hurt me at the weekend, but I feel like I've got away with it over the last sort of 4 to 5 weeks because he is not, even though he's putting up the numbers, he's not been producing the results. But how much longer can I get away with it? It does feel like every week he doesn't do something, I am dodging a bullet. I could get to him in one move from going from Bowen to Son. As you can see, the two of them play against West Ham. He got a goal and assist. If I'm honest, would I have this conversation if he hadn't got returns against Manchester City, not including the own goal? I think I probably still would. He is, but I still have wanted to get in, but possibly I wouldn't be as concerned about getting in for the West Ham game. That West Ham game does worry me. I think if he hadn't done anything against Man City, I feel a bit more comfortable playing him through the West Ham game, then not playing him for the Newcastle game, and then bringing him in for Forest and Everton. But that West Ham game does worry me. I do think the way they're playing Tottenham is just creating so many chances. Heung-min-son will be on penalties. He's got his stats just brilliant, and he's just got he's just dealing in goals. It's just not much to not like about Heung-min-son. So I do really want him. He is expensive, but is he worth it? I think he is. And he hurts me every time he scores. And I think at the moment he is a better option than Bowen. But then I am just taking one player out who's guaranteed 90 minutes and bringing another one in that's going to play for 90 minutes. And I've got other players who aren't. So that doesn't quite make a lot of sense. And maybe I'm playing Bowen down a little bit. He has scored in every single, or returned in every single away game this season, which is pretty impressive. But if I was to say who's going to score in the next 3 to 4 games, I think my money would definitely be on Son. So he's one that I'm considering. At the moment, I could even consider taking my first hit of the season, but we'll have to decide that near the time when it comes to team selection and when we've heard of all those press conferences. That's it for this one then. Let me know in the comments below who you are intending to transfer in for game week 15. We'll come back at you with a team selection video before the deadline, which is only going to be tomorrow evening at 6, and then game week 16 will be pretty much upon us before we know it. So lots of things to think about and mull over. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit that bell to get the notification button, and in the meantime, I shall speak to you soon.